driving in the car is usually a good time for me to think. And so it's also a good time for me to process my thoughts. And so I'm going to make a video. I'm going to make a video today and talk about why I want to sell on Amazon. So I'm in the middle of my third year as a reseller and my first year as a full-time reseller. And I'm really happy to be able to say that I've been able to step away from my job and work less and make more money, more vacation, more time with family, more time with friends, more time pursuing things I want to pursue, taking a day off whenever I want, things like that. Those things are awesome to be able to have in my life. But getting to this point has been the scariest, hardest, and most confusing thing that I have ever done in my life. So let me tell you a little bit of the reason why. I think if you want to do anything with your life that requires some grit, requires some determination, requires you to have discipline, change your daily habits, assume a certain level of responsibility, and try hard, then you absolutely need to have a why. If you don't have a reason that you're doing the things that you're doing in your life, if you don't have a goal that's bigger than just you, you're gonna fold up like a deck of cards the second something goes wrong. I think we live in a world today where people are allergic to pain and suffering and difficulty and trials, and that's their bad. People would get so much more out of life if they learned how to embrace the struggle. And the only way you can do that is if you have a vision for your life that not only takes account of the pain of life, but also provides a greater sense of fulfillment than the level of pain you may find yourself in. So I have had an interesting last decade. I got a bachelor's degree in history and geography and religious studies, Jewish studies in particular. And that is not a marketable degree at all. And it qualified me to do absolutely zero. Qualified me to be a barista at Starbucks. More or less. I worked in restaurants for about 10 years and just had a bunch of dead-end jobs. And it took me a long time until I felt like I kind of hit rock bottom. But I got to a point where I felt like, I don't have very good relationships. I don't have as many friends as I would like. I'm not getting satisfaction out of relationship with a girlfriend. I'm not getting satisfaction out of my relationships at work, my career trajectory, which maybe is going to be like front of house restaurant manager unless I do something different. And so I decided that I needed to. I was sick of sitting on the couch. I was sick of just sort of being okay with my life. And I actually took a different left turn before the Amazon left turn that I took. I decided I'd go back to school. This was about 7 to 8 years ago. And I became a special ed teacher. It took me 2 years, worked my butt off. I was a full-time student and working full-time as a substitute teacher while getting married and just grinding it out for 2 years. That was the roughest 2 years of my life. I got married and I had $11 in my bank account, and my wife paid the bills. She worked for a church at the time. She worked part-time in college ministry, and she paid the rent, and we lived off of food stamps and plasma donations and the kindness of strangers. We did that for a few years, and then I got a job as a teacher, which I held for 7 years. And that was a good job. I made enough money to pay my bills. I had summers off. I had a certain level of safety and security. But eventually I found that this didn't really fulfill me either. This wasn't what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And so I just discovered over time that not only was I sort of like baseline unsatisfied with my job, like I didn't want to do this for 30 years, but also that like being a teacher keeps getting harder and harder. I feel like less support from administration is available, more pushback from parents, more disrespect from kids. You ask any teacher, especially during COVID, after the pandemic, teachers left in droves, and that was not their fault. Some teachers, maybe. Mostly, teaching is kind of an untenable proposition for a lot of people, and that's what I discovered. I didn't want to do it anymore. And so, excuse me, I decided to leave and do two things. I became a full-time reseller. Let me rephrase that. I found a way to work 10 to 20 hours a week because my system for acquiring products with retail arbitrage, with online arbitrage, with wholesale, it's dialed into the point where I don't have to do a lot of time. I don't have to spend a lot of time sourcing, but I can make basically a full-time income. And so what I decided to do is, instead of scaling my business, I decided to take a job I actually do want. And that job is working for a church. So I work part-time for a church and I work part-time for Amazon. The church pays me a little bit. Amazon pays me enough to make a full-time income. But that is sort of the place where I ended up. Now, it took me, I wouldn't have been able to do this 2 years ago. It was only possible to start doing at a certain point in my reselling career. And I absolutely needed the snowball. I absolutely needed a snowball effect to occur. And what I did for the first basically 18 months was snowball all my profits right back into the business. And that was a good decision. The pain of working for free for 18 months was still worth it because I had this vision in my mind of where I wanted to end up. And I'm still moving towards that place. I'm not financially independent yet. I'm not completely financially free. The thing I freed up is my time. I have still absolutely tied myself to a job. I have to work Amazon. Now I can take a few weeks off here and there. I can take a month off if I wanted to. Actually, I could probably take 3 months off, 6 months off. It would be possible. And yeah, my business would die in the meantime. So I don't want to do that. But if I had to, I could. And that would only have been possible if I was willing to work like a dog, work full time, and then still have another part-time job on top of that, and then still donate time on top of that, and have family, business, and ministry, my other part-time job, going full bore. I have 3 plates spinning constantly. And I was willing to do that to pay it forward, to defer gratitude towards the future. And that's what each one of us needs to do that wants something better out of life. You have to pick your sacrifice, you have to shoulder it willingly, and then you have to start moving towards that goal, no matter how hard it is. Now, in my experience, absolutely it pays off. You show me somebody's daily habits, and I will show you their future. But it takes time. So I'm still living my why. I'm still trying to enjoy my journey, but that's at least a window onto it. That's a picture of what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to have a fulfilling life. I'm trying to work less and make more money. I'm trying to enjoy my life before it's gone. In future videos, I'd love to discuss the bottlenecks that have hindered me along the way. And I'll do that in future videos, certainly. But for now, I'll just leave you with that. Like and subscribe for more. And in the comments, tell me your why. Tell me what's been hard about your journey, but tell me still why it's worth doing. But